researchers such as Kent have spent several years of hard work to collect this high quality feed data that he just described. And now we will get the best use of that data, and you'll be seeing the results of those calculations in the next month. So the topics in this presentation are revision of cow maintenance cost. That's going to be a big part of the change. The economics of the feed saved trait that he just described, the reliabilities for residual feed intake and for feed saved, the formulas used to combine the two terms, residual feed intake and the body weight composite, into the feed saved combined index. And then another topic to try to make better use of this data is to get the individual feed costs associated with each pound of milk, fat, or protein. And then try to estimate the future national impact of feed saved. So since 2000, the net merit index has deducted for the higher feed costs by including a penalty on body weight composite. And that original body weight composite was a formula derived at the University of Minnesota, but since 2017, that was switched to a new body weight composite formula that was sponsored by both Holstein Association Research and Jersey Cattle Research to predict the actual body weight of those cows that had been classified. And one change there was that the dairy form was included as an additional trait to help better predict the weight instead of the frame size. And since then, we've obtained more data from the university research herds and now re-estimated the regression of body weight on body weight composite and obtained an estimate of 35 instead of 40 pounds increase. So that's a slight revision obtained from this same data. I think I need to well, I can't see all the screen with this view, but I have it available here. So the effect of body weight on the maintenance feed required, that assumption in 2018 net merit was really the same value held constant for many years, and it had been held constant at a somewhat low value based on a dollar value of feed estimate, and now is needs to be re-estimated in terms of today's feed costs. And the National Research Council routinely publishes nutrients required for use by nutritionists, and that value had been lower, but in next year's revision will be higher. And when we look at our own data, what Kent just described, the estimate of maintenance required is even higher. So those regressions were more like, they were over 5 pounds of feed required for each pound of body weight per lactation. And so sort of averaging the NRC estimates and our own phenotypic regressions puts the estimate that we should give small body size, 2.3 times as much emphasis as we have in the past. So that'll put much more emphasis on smaller cows. And there are some other incomes and expenses that also vary with body weight. Obviously, cold cows, there's an income, and also larger calves, there's income from that. But that's counteracted by the additional cost of growing larger replacement heifers, and then some cow growth cost during primarily first lactation, and some extra housing costs. And those incomes and expenses tend to somewhat cancel out so that the main cost is still the cow maintenance. And those are all converted to feed pounds per lactation. And they sum up to 138 pounds of dry matter intake per unit of body weight composite. So putting that together into the feed saved, then you get that 138, and for the maintenance and other charges for body weight composite, and then the pounds of RFI per lactation. Those are negative signs because we have to convert the into feed saved, which is positive instead of feed eaten. The reliability is that simple formula of 35 weight of 35% on the reliability of body weight composite, but most of the weight is on RFI because it has more genetic variance. And it's possible to reverse this math to get the RFI, PTA, and reliability back from the feed saved if users are interested in seeing those. And then to calculate the reliability, if you have 77% reliability for the body weight composite and 15% for RFI, then the feed saved would be 37%. The low reliability will reduce the reliability of net merit. You'll see that on the next slide, but it does overall increase the genetic progress for profit. So to include the feed saved into net merit, we have the lifetime value of feed saved is the cost of DMI times on a per pound basis times the 2.6 lactations. And then the reliability is 89% times the original net merit reliability, and then 11% times the RFI. So that comes up with, if the reliability net merit was 76% before, including this new trait with lower reliability will reduce the reliability of net merit to 69%. That's not going to happen in December. That is proposed for April. And the correlation of net merit with and without feed saved included is 0.984. So it will not make a, no, it's a bigger change than some of the other ones we've made recently, but most of the bulls will rank similarly. And the extra progress from these changes to the adding the feed saved should be worth about $8 million per year. So few researchers have estimated the exact costs for milk, fat, and protein. And we've used this data to do that. The feed cost for milk and for protein may be less than we previously assumed, but the feed cost for fat should be more. So when we look at the profit from each unit of milk, fat, or protein produced, it will be less for fat and more for milk and protein, and that will cause the net merit and the amount of genetic progress to differ for those from what we've seen in the past revision. However, the feed cost associated with fat yield is still poorly estimated because the body fat, the loss or gain of body fat during the feeding trial is very hard to measure, as Kent said. And so that limits our ability to detect whether the cow is really losing body condition or not. And so these are several estimates of the individual component costs of feed, and they're fairly constant for protein. They differ a lot for fat. So even with all this data, it's very hard to get a good estimate. The first one, the phenotypic regression, results in a marginal feed cost for milk of only $3.30, which seems way too low. The genomic estimates appear to be much more sensible. And so the prices assumed for fat and protein we expect will change to a higher ratio of fat feed cost than protein feed cost. And that will cause the relative emphasis to be higher for milk and much less for fat in the next revision. The body weight composite would go about twice as much emphasis in the net merit formula. RFI gets 14% of emphasis, which is, that's a pretty large component, but it's reduced by the reliability. And then the feed saved is the sum of the two. And so the correlations with those traits also is improved for analogous to the relative emphasis. And we start making gain for RFI and further decline in body weight composite. So some other of the proposed revisions in the net merit index. So the first three I've already discussed: revising the maintenance cost, and that happens for all breeds, including RFI and body weight composite into feed saved. That's just for Holsteins. Adjust the feed cost for milk components. That should be for all breeds. Include the heifer livability and early first calving new traits into the net merit formula. Revise opportunity and maturity costs. That'll affect the productive life value, and adjust other prices and economic assumptions. So in conclusion, we expect that the selection for feed save should improve profit across the US by 8 million. About half of that is due to the addition of the dry matter intake data, and half of that is just due to the penalty on body weight composite, which due to more maintenance costs, and that probably should have been done years ago. So RFI could get 14% of the emphasis, but the low reliability of approximately 15% for RFI and 37% for feed saved will make this addition of this trait less dramatic than it could be. And reliability of net merit may appear to be lower when we add in traits with lower reliability, but the progress is more. So I'd like to thank all of the US taxpayers for funding our project, and thank all of those out there who have contributed data to the CDCB database. Thank the taxpayers again for the funding of the USDA grant that produced all this feed intake data, and also the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research.